It is you. You just haven't been there. And I need more, especially right now.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Time your business switched IT provider. Switch to 360 ICT. We take care of your whole company's IT infrastructure with instant user support and remote installations. Right now, get 50% off our premium service until the end of March 2021. Visit 360ict.co.uk.
How do we control coronavirus now? Here's Michael, a delivery driver.
All day, every day, I'm seeing people. Last thing I want to do is give anyone coronavirus. So the first sign of a cough, as soon as my temperature rises, any loss of taste or smell, I'm staying in, booking a test, only going out to get it done. I mean, you want to know straight away, right? That's how we protect each other.
To get a test, go to nhs.uk/coronavirus or call 119. Stay alert. Control the virus. Save lives.
The coronavirus hasn't gone away, and we're still being asked to continue to take necessary precautions. This includes wearing a face covering in enclosed public spaces, such as shops and public transport. TrustedPPE.co.uk has supplied millions of items to key frontline workers and can now supply certified filtering face masks and hand sanitizers direct to the public. Order before 4 p.m. weekdays for next day delivery from TrustedPPE.co.uk.
Some things go together perfectly. Strawberries and cream, yes please. Ham and pineapple, jury's out. Pancakes and ketchup, no way. How about tradespeople you can trust? Now there's a perfect combination. Thankfully at trustedtrader.com, you can find plenty of vetted, reviewed, reliable professionals in an abundance of trades. So, find your perfect match today.
Tom Swarbrick, text 84850. This is LBC.
Lots of you joining the conversation this afternoon about whether it should be the schools mandate the wearing of face masks once they come back in September for all their pupils. Tom says, David Cox, I just don't agree with Molly, who you had on earlier. Just have kids wear masks to save lives. It's a pandemic and anything should happen to stop infections. How would you instantly have you had the same level of schooling? Can you genuinely say you've got the same level of education at home as opposed to being in school?
No, they definitely need to. They've done what they've been fair. It's not like being in the school environment. But they've definitely done what's been fair every day. But as it went on, the day seemed to show me the teachers lost the will to do. I think it was a bit of a novelty to begin with, and it was all there, and then it did fade. He really does, but if I desperately need something, or he has to wear a mask. If he goes on public transport, not that he has been, he has to wear a mask. Now, he normally gets the bus to school. He walks.
Yeah, I think that if they're going on public transport, the rules are that they need to wear a mask, and he's not under 11, so he's going to have to. Because he's interacting with a lot of different people in different places, and he's going to have to wear a mask. The difference with wearing it in a classroom is there are whole reams of advice from the Department for Education about what schools can do to keep COVID secure. The mixing up of classes is particularly helpful. So, I'm sure the school they've got in place to keep your son as safe as possible, and therefore you. Because the science suggests that there has been But we're talking about 20, 25, 30-year-olds here, as young people. We're not talking about school-age people.
Right, so we're definite on that school-age children do not pass it on. And
I'm going to dig out, do you know what, Kate? I will dig out the report, I will give you the quotes from the scientist who wrote this thing, who said he's looked at cases all across the world. There has been potentially one in Australia. Does that make you more confident?
Yes, it does. It does, because it's mixed messaging all the time. And I thought, this is part of why the schools were shut down. I mean, I can't understand that now. If it wasn't that they were at risk or we were at risk from catching it from there, then why were schools shut in the first place?
Listen, I think that the original closing of schools was done out of the right motivation, which was we didn't know enough about the virus at that particular point, and so in order to try and keep people as safe as possible, the schools ought to be shut down. I think that is understandable from my point of view. I think that was ultimately the right thing to do.
definitely going to have an effect on the different types of learners.
Oh, definitely. And I think at 13, I mean, I just about remember what I was like at 13. It's important that you spend time with your mates and that you're in the school environment and that you can knock around with each other and all that kind of stuff. Joss, you sound like a model pupil. Congratulations. Work hard. You'll do great. Thank you for the call. Here's Ros in Slough. Hi, Ros.
Hi there.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm a paediatrician, retired, and I really think this is so unnecessary. There's no evidence for children spreading this. It's quite different if individual teachers or children are really anxious and want to wear a mask. But the idea of saying that everybody's got to wear a mask is just going to create completely unnecessary anxiety when we're trying to get children back to normal. And I think it's disproportionate to the risk.
To what extent do you think, whether it's certain schools or certain teachers or teachers groups or unions, to what extent do you think they've been overly concerned about the risk to them posed by their pupils?
I think hugely. I mean, I think throughout the pandemic we've seen nurses and public sector workers, shopkeepers, bus drivers, all sorts of people working. We've seen the children of key workers in schools.
We have also seen them dying, unfortunately, particularly bus drivers.
What we haven't seen is teachers who've been teaching key workers' children. So key workers were high risk during the early stage of the pandemic, but the children in schools were not transmitting. The hospital press is there were no cases. The Children's Commissioner has stated that. It's just not, I don't know why they're not bothering, but they really don't seem to be.
So these...
It's not the same as the flu virus where 4 kids can be transmitted. It's just not like that.
I tell you what, there is going to be pandemonium, I think, over the course of October, November, December, when kids do get snotty, they come home and they always bring home coughs and colds and sniffles and stuff. It's going to be chaos. People are going to be pulling their kids out of school left, right, and centre.
I know, and the danger also is that the government will keep closing schools unnecessarily, and we just need to give children some consistent education and let the people who are not anxious can go, and gradually their friends will see that they're getting on well. I mean, I've got friends at the school have been kids to where they've opened up for 600 children and they've had no club. People fine. And they've got no masks or anything.
So the message from a retired paediatrician, as well as epidemiologists out throughout the land, is if you're worried about kids spreading this in schools, the science doesn't back you up. You don't need to be worried.
Absolutely.
I think it's really convincing. Ross, thank you. Ross in Slough. I think it is. You've got to ask the question. Of course, you've got to ask the question about whether you're putting your children at greater risk or you're putting teachers at greater risk. And you can understand the reticence certainly early on around whether it was safe or not. But as Ross says, there is no evidence at all that this is taking place, and therefore there shouldn't be. I don't think 10 schools already in this country that are saying that they have to. You have to have a mask-wearing child come in through the school gate because they are mandated. It's just not required. 0345 6060 973. More of your calls to come over the course of the next half an hour before the news at 7. Let's get a news update now, though. 6:31. Thomas Watts.
Ministers say there is currently no viable alternative to the UK's quarantine policy for international arrivals. The Transport Secretary has warned he cannot rule out imposing measures on more countries. Jet2 has cancelled all flights and holidays to Cyprus until the middle of next month. The low-cost airline has blamed what it's called prohibitive entry restrictions, including pre-travel tests. Twitter has apologised for taking 6 days to ban the grime artist Wiley from the platform. The musician received a temporary suspension following a string of anti-Semitic posts last week. And the weather, many areas dry with clear spells, heavy rain spreading from Northern Ireland into Wales, Northern England and Scotland overnight, a low of 11 Celsius.
Link for Orient Breakfast, LBC.
Kosher media and sponsorship were down from the advice earlier this year that allowed a decision to send hospital patients in England to care homes has been described as reckless. Are you ready to apologise for that decision now?
Did you listen to what the chief executive of the NHS provides, Chris Hockey said it's categorically not true? That was now the case. Everyone
These cases did not give rise to secondary cases among other students or teaching staff, according to this research. They also say that the study suggested that children are largely asymptomatic and appear less contagious than adults. It also showed that adults appear to be infecting children rather than the other way around, which I totally appreciate. It goes against the grain of what we've understood up until this point of the idea of children being sort of super spreaders, given that, you know, I know they come home from school and they're carrying all kinds of coughs and colds and, you know, illnesses that they then invariably, as you might be able to hear, seem to spread around the house. Here's Andy in Manchester. Hi, Andy. I think that is entirely reasonable and perfectly sensible. If you don't feel confident and you want to make sure that you've got a bit of extra protection, I do think though that the onus should be on, particularly as you say at SEN schools, the onus should be on the teacher rather than the pupils, right?
Yeah. It's just that, you know, before you said that there was no teachers, there was no death. So I told your guys there. So the Office of National Statistics up to April the 20th listed deaths by occupation.
Yeah.
So it said males in higher education, deaths by COVID 3, further education 3, secondary 11, primary nursery 1, teaching and other education professionals 4, that's just for men. And for females it said HE 2, further education 2, secondary 6, a total of 65. So,
and that is horrendous. Obviously, that is a tragedy for each individual family. Obviously, that's the case. No one wants to see anyone die of this thing. Do we know whether those people from the education profession caught this in school, or were given this in school, or were in school when they got it and died as a result of transmission that took place in the classroom or in the lecture theatre?
Well, that's what, because of Oxford's advice, we can't confirm that, and that's the issue. Because my issue, when there are people say, we're told in one breath children are asymptomatic, which means they are possibly positive, but do not pass it on. And we are not, my daughter's 15, you know, I spent time with her, she's not been tested. If we tested, say my school for example, if we tested every child in the school and we found them to be positive, I think that would cause a lot of problems, because then we say, rather than it being hearsay, the hearsay is we think children are asymptomatic or children and people under 18. But then if we tested them and we know for sure they are asymptomatic, it would cause help, wouldn't it? Because we'd go, blimey, every kid under 18 is potentially a carrier.
Well, there is no doubt that children can get this thing. I mean, that's the obvious thing to say is, of course, children can get it, but as you say, it seems to be that they may well be asymptomatic and that their transmission rates are a lot lower than perhaps previously thought. And look, Andy, the real difficulty with this is I can dig around and find you fully backed scientific studies from across Europe and the UK and, you know, the Western world or wherever that give you a view that says actually it's perfectly safe, you don't need to wear masks. I'm sure you can provide me with the opposite.
No, I can't. I've tried to find, before I phoned you, I tried to find for some Office of National Statistics data that said we have tested this many people under 18, and from those tested, this many are positive, and I cannot find that. So I'm assuming that no children under 18 have been tested. So when we say children are asymptomatic, we're just assuming because not as many children under 18 were ill.
I would love to know the statistics on how many children under the age of 18 have been tested, but I'm sure there are people listening whose children have been tested as part of the testing of a household if they've come into contact with people who have got it, or if they're self-isolating for whatever reason. You can get the home test kits and you can, put on your kids, however young they are, to get the test and to be able to do it. Andy, thank you. Good luck to you. 0345 6060 973 is the number. You can text 84850. You can tweet at LBC. We'll bring you more details in the next few moments on this hearing in the House Judiciary Committee of the bosses of 4 big tech companies. And when I say big, I mean the biggest tech companies. We're talking Amazon, we're talking Facebook, Apple, Alphabet, into their practices and their power, given that they are likely to shape the future far more so, possibly, than elected governments are. Tom Swarbrick in for Eddie Mayer here on LBC 6:45. News headlines, Thomas Watts.
The government has dismissed Heathrow's call for an airport testing system to replace quarantine measures. Twitter has banned the rapper Wiley 6 days after he posted a series of anti-Semitic tweets. The Mayor of London has called on the Grenfell Tower inquiry to focus more on issues of race and poverty. Rain spreading across much of the UK tonight, brighter spells tomorrow, a low at 11 Celsius.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. On the North Circular Road northbound, a lane stays closed at the Ilford flyover after an accident earlier on, so there are queues from before the A13 at the Beckton roundabout. There are also long delays on the A13 heading out of town from Canning Town through to Barking. That's because of the North Circular problems and after a car breakdown earlier on. On the A12 going out of town, there are 4 miles of queues from Hackney Wick after a breakdown at the Redbridge roundabout earlier. In Westminster, Whitehall is blocked in both directions. That's because of a demonstration, so there are queues on the approaches. And South Eastern aren't running any trains via Hither Green for the rest of the week. That's because of engineering work.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
In the news hour, new food strategy report. The UK buys more vaccines, trade deal with Japan seems near, rural broadband, and Twitter bans Wiley. About time too.
Ian Dale on LBC.
At Big Motoring World, we usually say go big or go home. But now we're saying go big from your home. Order the car you love from the thousands online and then collect in store. Contact-free digital signing, sanitized cars, and a whole lot of loving from 2 meters. Big Motoring love has never been so clean. Order online at bigmotoringworld.co.uk.
Normally, I'd be recording this in a fancy sound studio with a mocha frogger skinny latte. Instead, I'm in my bathroom. Technology means I can wander around my house reading this script, and people can take a wander around yours with Purple Brick's virtual viewings, or they can safely view it in person if you prefer.
Do you want a cup of tea, love?
Can I get a mocha frogger skinny latte?
Beg your pardon?
Tea's fine, thank you. Book your free valuation with Purple Bricks.
Fixed fee payable on instruction or after 10 months. Viewing service cost extra.
Builder Ali spent his 40-year career whistling as he worked. Then he was offered a free pension review from what he thought was a reputable firm. But it was a scammer, and his lifetime savings was stolen.
Hey, waiter! Another bottle of champagne over here.
Don't let a scammer enjoy your retirement. Check who you're dealing with. Visit ScamSmart from the Financial Conduct Authority.
Psst. Did you know that Pimlico Plumbers have an utterly fabulous 24-hour service? For plumbing, heating, drains, roofing, electrics, appliances, carpentry and building. Whatever your predicament, Pimlico Plumbers can send a friendly face to your door within the hour. Shh. And just between us, their work even comes with a 12-month guarantee. They aren't just any old tradesmen, they're Pimlico Plumbers. And they're always available on 0207 928 8888 or at pimlicoplumbers.com.
It's been a tough time for small businesses over the last few months, so many have been using digital tools to adapt during the lockdown. We spoke to some of them.
My name's Samuel Mensah, and I run Uncle John's Bakery in Tottenham. When I had to temporarily